Yes, we can all admit that game one overreactions are so stupid. We still do it anyway. Well, we get game two tonight. Lakers, Wolves, LA able to hang on and beat Minnesota 94-85 to tie the series at 1 apiece. Our postseason coverage presented by Sentivo Vineyards and Winery. What was so different in your mind for the Lakers in this one?
I mean, they came out locked in, ready to go. It was
borderline insane seeing how intense they were defensively.
Night and day. And I loved it. I had so much more fun watching them play like they actually wanted it. The urgency was there. But it's, again, because they have good basketball players on this roster, some of the best in the world. When you just try a little harder, it's crazy what that can do. So it was like everyone was locked in on both ends of the floor, especially defensively. I'm talking even Luka Doncic looking like a defender out there in so many different ways, to then the way that they were playing together on the offensive end. Again, the togetherness, the urgency. I love the way that they were just playing like it was the playoffs.
Yeah, when's the last time you saw LeBron get into the airspace and bump an offensive player like in the first minute of a game?
Yeah.
And it was just that type of physicality that's what they kind of just needed. It felt like in game one, they didn't approach it like a playoff game, and Minnesota did.
And then once they started losing it, it got worse, right? It was like, okay, now they're just deflated and not even going to try and fight back. Where it's like, no, they're going to start off that way. And then even when they hit adversity, they found a way to still turn things around and keep the lead.
Yeah, they did some interesting things. We saw different types of looks, but I think on just like the base level, you just saw them load up on Ant to make life more difficult. There was like one play in the first quarter where he's driving left on a pick and roll situation, and Hayes is at the level, and Ant tries to launch a shot. Hayes blocks the shot. It seemed like stuff was more challenging for him, even when he tried his skip passes that maybe were going his way in game one.
Yeah.
Those weren't there just from because of the activity from LA.
Every time that they would load up on Ant, I mean, it felt like they were always doing such a good job in help. They were packing the paint, they were packing the gaps, and just really utilizing their size and their strength, but being active and kind of bouncy. I mean, how many times I say that about LeBron? I'm like, oh my God, he's bouncy with his feet. He looks bouncy. Like he was just on it, in help, in the gap, wherever he needed to be on the defensive end. But same thing with Luka, same thing with everyone else, whether it was along the perimeter and then near the rim. It just felt like people were getting swallowed up left and right.
Yeah, I was looking at the points in the paint numbers. I didn't know what they were at the end of the game. Let's double check here. LA, 46 points in the paint, 63.9% in the paint.
Okay.
The Minnesota Timberwolves tonight, just 23 of 47 in the paint. So it was 46-46, but look at that number of points in the paint. The efficiency, 48.9% for Minnesota versus 64% for the Lakers.
And so you look at that number, right? And you think about the intensity in the paint, the activity there for the Lakers, arms up, strength, all the different things, making life more difficult. But not only were they packing the paint, the T-Wolves were playing awful on the offensive end. We'll get to that. They were missing all their 3-point shots unlike the other night. But so much love to give to the Lakers defense in the way that they were running around, contesting shots, disrupting, making life so much more difficult, recovering. I mean, it didn't matter if it was just Gabe Vincent running from side to side, being intense, to, like we already mentioned, with Luka and LeBron, Austin Reeves, same thing. It just felt like even if they were the T-Wolves were looking to hunt out the mismatch, it wasn't working for them because the Lakers had an intensity, kept up with the physicality that they brought from the start all the way. And that wasn't just in the half court defense. That was in transition. That was
rebounding.
The Wolves couldn't even run, right? Yeah, no, it was a great defensive game for the Lakers.
Good start too, right? They're up 34-15 after one. 34-15 after one. And Luka, we haven't talked about him yet. He scored 16 points in the first quarter. So Luka outscored Minnesota in the first quarter tonight. And it was interesting watching him because there were just some plays tonight, especially in that first half. He slowed down a bit in that second half. he just hit some shots. You're like, I don't know what you can do. And I know everyone likes to clown Gobert, right? It's a fun thing to do to clown Gobert.
Sure.
And let's be honest, they hunted that matchup a lot. Not because it's like, oh, Gobert's a joke. It's because that is the best. That's probably the most favorable matchup. So let's go to work on that. There are times that I feel like Gobert held his own and Luka still hit tough shots or was able to draw fouls. He got to the free throw line a lot in that first quarter. I felt like that kind of set the tone of the game. He was drawing fouls. That frustrated Minnesota. But I thought Luka coming out of the gates just absolutely dialed in offensively was nasty.
Luka 11 for 11 at the free throw line, by the way. And
6 of 6 in the first quarter.
yeah, no, and that's the thing. He set the tone even on that end right away. And I'm with you though. There were so many times Rudy Gobert was on Luka Doncic, and there was one time that Luka had this really nice cross, and the crowd goes wild, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!" Like his ankles are broken, whatever. But for the most part, I was really impressed with the way Rudy Gobert was coming out at times. Again, he's been a defensive player of the year. We know what he can do to protect a rim, his presence alone, disrupt, all the things. But I was even more impressed with the way that he was staying with Luka at times. Again, this is Luka still cooking, doing his thing, something that it felt like he would have done on pretty much anyone tonight, especially when he was feeling good from the start. But yeah, Rudy Gobert's defense, not terrible. And then this is what...
But it's a matchup that they like hunting,
and they love,
and they get stuff out of it.
And this is why they love hunting it, because not just because Luka can find a way to get his whatever, he finds his teammates. And you see how many times that the help comes over and it just leads to so many other things for the Lakers. And the Lakers were doing a great job in the half-court offense, actually moving around, relocating. Luka finished with how many assists? 9?
He had 9 after 1 in the last game. He had 31 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists in this game.
Yeah. So again, it was just like his playmaking ability as soon as that help had to come over, because Gobert was going to have his challenges with Luka. It was just a great game plan that they executed, and everyone else was doing their job with Luka as well.
It was interesting. I think I've said that 7 times already on this
It's
thing.
interesting.
It's interesting. JJ Redick had mentioned after last game, he's like, there's not like a lot of schemes. Like, there's not a ton of scheme shit we have to do.
Yeah.
We have to like be in the right spots. We have to space the floor properly. We have to get back in transition.
Yeah.
Last game, they allowed 25 fast break points against Minnesota. I think it was 25-6. Tonight,
Yeah.
the Wolves had 6 fast break points. They actually won that battle 13-6 tonight.
Lakers were getting back.
Yeah, it was that. And I thought from a rebounding perspective, it just popped to me. I thought they were aggressive to limit second chance opportunities. It's a number that still wasn't perfect. Minnesota did a good job at the end of the night. It was 18-7 on second chance points, but the offensive rebounding battle was 9-9. Minnesota closed the gap in the second half. I believe the rebounding numbers in the second half were actually even, but the Lakers end up +7 in this game, and I thought it was like the gang rebounding. They may not have the size, but everyone's got to get down there. They got to find a body. You got to box out and go get that damn ball.
How many times you and I were just mentioning to like, holy shit, like how many Lakers jerseys are there?
Yep.
How many Lakers are putting themselves in position to actually get a rebound? I thought Julius Randle started doing a better job in that second half, and that's why some of those numbers started to shift, because he started putting himself in a better position to just make life a little bit harder, right? And trying to get that rebound and making sure that it wasn't going to be so easy for the Lakers. But it felt like every single yellow jersey was down by the basket today, whether it was getting a rebound or making sure that
boxing out,
putting a body on someone, but also like being in that place to protect the shit out of the rim, making sure that whoever was going to come in there, it was going to be so difficult to get a shot off. And that's exactly what it goes to when we looked at the shots in the paint and the Wolves' percentage in the paint. Just everything was so difficult for them.
So second quarter, this game looks like it was going to fall apart at some point. But the Wolves get back in the game at the end of the first half. I think a couple of things. I thought Julius Randle's offensive aggression just kind of taking over. He was staying engaged in this game. And like we talk so much about the roller coaster ride of him. And last game there were some turnover issues, some emotional,
chaotic.
Sure.
Yeah.
You have to live with some of that.
Sure.
But tonight, I mean, he had some tough takes to the rim, some big shots, and that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And I thought that aggression that he brought in the second quarter kind of set the tone, like gave Minnesota some juice. Like, oh shit, like there is a lot of time left. Like we don't need to roll over.
Yeah.
Like let's compete tonight. And that's like the thing I walk away with Minnesota is like the compete level was there. But Julius Randle had 1 turnover in this game. He ends up with 27 points, 9 of 17
Great
shooting.
job.
He was 7 of 9 at the free throw line. Also had 6 assists and 4 rebounds. Was he perfect? Were there plays that maybe he could have got off the ball sooner? Sure. But I liked his approach, especially in that second quarter. And I felt like that's what helped get Minnesota like a little life.
But that's also, we talk about like getting off the ball sooner and making a quicker decision. Like that's part of his game that's always been there, right? Yeah. And it's like at this point of his career, like, yeah, sure, you wish it could even become quicker and quicker. But either way, he was doing so many other things really well on the offensive end, like being aggressive, like you said, and especially when it felt like someone like Anthony Edwards couldn't get his. And it wasn't just because, Ant's having a rough night. It wasn't just because,
Lakers defense is really good.
Not just because Naz Reid was having a rough night. It was the Lakers defense making their life so much more difficult. So it was nice to see someone like Julius Randle still be able to find a lane, to find a gap and attack and go through a body or do what he needed to do with his strength, especially when his other teammates couldn't get things going.
Yeah, the Lakers mixed up the looks on him too. Like they sprinkled in some zone tonight. I swear at one point in the first quarter, I tried to point out to Morgan, I wasn't for sure because it was like such a quick sequence.
Like one possession.
I was like, was that a box and one that the Lakers put out? Like they put Rui on him. It looked like they were in a box and one, and it ended up leading to Ant throwing some kind of wild pass. Randall caught it, buried a 3. But then at the end of the first half, this was a play that I was like, ooh, I think Minnesota's gonna get back in this game. It was one of the final sequences of the first half. They go zone on Anthony Edwards. He takes Rui, a little in and out move, attacks the basket. There's no rim protection. It was just with force. And they cut it to 15 just like that. And you're like,
was that the dunk?
No.
Okay.
No. That dunk came in the third quarter.
Reeves, right?
Oh, no. That was...
Who was that on?
That was on Hayes at the rim.
Oh.
So that sequence in the third quarter was crazy. It's an inbound, and Ant ends up getting the ball. He gets it to Randall. And Ant's being defended by Luka. Gets it to Randall. Luka leaves Ant to throw like a double team, maybe cause a little chaos on Randall. Randall just spins, gets it to Ant. Ant sees a goddamn freeway to the basket, takes it hard, and jams it. That was nasty.
Yeah.
And that cut to 13.
And those as soon as those moments would happen, it was like, okay, are they going to get a stop here? Right. And it wasn't even so much. It's hard to say because I felt like Minnesota's effort defensively, especially in that second half, was there. It was like they clicked. They're like, all right, let's meet the physicality, the intensity. Let's do what we can do, even though we have guys in foul trouble, right? They were there. But the Lakers were just playing better basketball. And especially on the offensive end, it felt like every guy was moving. Every guy was making their shots. I mean, mostly Luka. Even LeBron started to pick things up a little bit more on the scoring front in that second half. And it's tough when you put yourself in a hole like they did, because if it didn't go there, you look at the scoring difference in that second half, and obviously the Wolves outscored the Lakers, and just where things could have been.
I mean, the Wolves held the Lakers to 36 points in the second half. 36 points in the second half.
And you'd think that'd be boring.
But they only scored 42.
And I enjoyed this game.
I mean, this game was chaotic. It felt like a 1990s game. Here are some numbers that jump out to you from like a 1990s perspective. Minnesota tonight. Well, I guess it wouldn't be this many attempts, but they only made 5 threes. That's probably too much for the 90s. Anyway, 5 of 25 from 3. A game after they hit 21. And the Lakers were 6 of 29. So the two teams combined to make 11 threes in this game, which is just crazy, right? That's just a crazy number.
Wow.
Going back to LeBron, I'm with you on the activity in the second half. It felt like we were watching going, man, he doesn't feel like he has to do as much because Luka is carrying right now. And this is why you get someone like Luka.
Yeah.
But he ends up with 21, 11, and 7 in this game.
Yeah.
And a big steal on Ant late. He went in there fighting for rebounds, playing 40 minutes in this game. So he definitely had some really strong moments in this.
I'm surprised to see the offensive rebounding number for the Wolves. 9 offensive rebounds that led to 18 second chance points, though. I know, but I even just looking at that number again, it just shows like the battle that the Wolves had throughout this one, even not starting off on the right foot, even though they weren't making their threes. They kept just pushing through, but the Lakers just kept pushing harder.
And for perspective, second chance points in the second half, 12-4 in favor of Minnesota in the second half.
Wow.
So, yeah, they brought the fight in this one. I mean, from Minnesota's perspective, like, this was a rough one. You know, like, DiVincenzo picks up his 3rd foul. At one point, we think Naz Reid picks up his 4th.
That was so weird.
And I was like looking at Finch, like, I don't know how you left him in early second quarter with 3 fouls. You can't have this. Like, what are we doing here? So they take him out anyway. But it's just that rhythm, those guys not being able to find consistency because, like, right away they're picking up fouls. I mean, I think even DiVincenzo, he comes back into the game in the 3rd quarter, 7:40, comes in the game, immediately picks up his 4th foul.
Yeah.
And so
deflating.
He only plays 16 minutes in this one, right? Naz Reid plays 21 minutes. Naz Reid was one of the heroes of game 1 with this shooting, right? McDaniels, we talk about the lift he gave offensively. There wasn't the same lift tonight. And so I think if you're Minnesota, it's like, dude, we had some guys in foul trouble. We had to fight through the adversity, or guys kept playing hard.
Weren't making our shots.
We believe like we're going to be able to knock down shots.
Yeah.
Tonight, it was Anthony Edwards with 25 points. It was Randall with 27. Well, one number that's interesting, 0 assists tonight for Ant. And that's the thing. Like, some of the shots that were falling in game 1 were not going in game 2. Part of it is McDaniels has just never been consistent in that regard.
Yeah.
And you look at him last game and go, well, that was like a perfect night. He's not going to have that night. Tonight, 8 points, 0 for 3 from downtown. He also had 5 fouls. That was another thing. Like, the fouls definitely impacted this game.
Well, and they screwed with the flow of the game for the Wolves, right? I mean, we talk about fast break points last game and then even compared to this game. And you just think about, too, when you're in rhythm, shooting some of those threes in that last game. Again, they were making them, it was wild, right? I mean, they look at the rim, they would make their deep shot, whatever. This game, not so much, but it's about finding that rhythm. And that's why, for having the offensive game that they had and for the score to still be 94-85, like, still impressed with what I saw out there. But it just goes to show, like, in the playoffs, you can't let up. And that comes from the start. And from the start, not even to say that they let up, the Lakers just punched and they punched and they punched.
I mean, kind of crazy. Game 1, they hold the Lakers to 95. Game 2 to 94.
Damn.
So both games, you hold the Lakers under 100 and you walk away with only 1 win.
Oof.
That's got to be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But like, you get the first one and now you go back home to Minnesota, you figure it out and see how you respond. You have to feel if you're bringing that type of effort, you'll knock down some shots. But you give the Lakers credit for how they played tonight. And I thought that's the level of compete you're going to need if you're going to have a chance in this series. If you're the Lakers, especially with like the advantages I think that Minnesota has with their depth and the size. Can we talk about the insane sequence in the 4th quarter?
Which one?
6:42 to go. You had the Lakers with a 2-on-1 break. Austin Reeves decides he is going to throw a lob to LeBron as if it was like 2009, 2010 prime LeBron running the floor. For some reason, throws him a lob. By the way, later, he dished it to him, and LeBron finishes it. LeBron's like, yeah, don't throw me the lob.
Especially with bodies there, and you had to look at the left. Yep, on the left side. On the left side.
And then
decision.
Then the other sequence, then going the other way, and we were laughing because Nickeil Alexander-Walker is butt naked open from 3. Just wide open in transition. He's like dancing, like, give me the ball. No one looks at him. And then there's just like a miss by McDaniels inside. He gets a second chance, scores it. Then he trips Luka. All of a sudden, 86-77. That was part of a stretch where the Lakers missed 10
That's the one.
consecutive shots in this game.
Well, and that's during that time when the
Yeah.
Lakers kept missing those shots. I was going, holy shit, we might actually have a game. And it wasn't even so much like, oh, you got to capitalize, because it felt like the Wolves were doing everything that they could, getting stops in transition, making a few, but then obviously, ultimately, as soon as the Lakers started making their shots again, it was like game over. Then they blew up the lead a little bit more and it was done.
Yeah, I think you hit it early when you said Minnesota dug themselves a hole and they had to play perfect on the night where they couldn't play perfect. Like
and where the Lakers were playing great.
I mean, even late, like Luka had that turnover, right? And it was good help defense on a Luka drive, I believe. Anthony Edwards in transition. LeBron picks it instantly and scores it. And it was just such a big momentum play in the final couple of minutes of a close game. And there was just many plays like that it just felt like they couldn't close that gap entirely. They get it down, but it just they didn't have enough to rally all the way back tonight. Like, you needed Naz Reid needed to come in and knock down like 5 threes.
I needed them though to even get back into this one like they did, because first I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be one of these games again. I enjoyed what I saw tonight.
It felt like a playoff game, even though it was like, oh my God, some of this shit, this is a struggle. Like the second half, here's the numbers in the second half.
Yeah.
Minnesota 42, Lakers 36. Luka in the second half, 3 of 10 shooting, 9 points, 0 for 3 from 3. Minnesota in the second half shot 35%. They were 3 of 15 from 3. The Lakers in the second half shot just below 36%, 1 of 12 from 3. In the fourth quarter, it was 20-13 Minnesota. The Lakers in the fourth were 5 of 19, 0 for 5 from 3.
Yep. I mean, even with that type of, and it's so funny because I keep talking about like how good that they were playing all game long. And it's
it's a compete, because guess what? You could survive that because you were getting back in defense. That you could survive missing 10 straight shots because on the other end, you're flying everywhere.
They weren't just relying on having some of the best players in the world, or however you want to put it. They were going, okay, we need to lock the F in and understand we have to play playoff basketball the right way. And they did that in so many different ways. Obviously, we talk about the compete with some of the big steals, some of the big swing plays, but also 100% at the free throw line, 20 for 20 for the Lakers. I know.
That's a great number.
Yeah, and so the focus is just there.
Rebounding too. They had 5 players with 5 or more rebounds.
Damn.
You had 5 from Rui tonight.
Locked in.
Who left the game at one point, came back with a mask and went, I'm not wearing this shit. This is uncomfortable. LeBron, 11. Luka with 12. Reeves with 5. He was pretty good tonight offensively. I thought he did a good job attacking mismatches too. He had that one late on Gobert that was sweet. And then Dorian Finney-Smith with 5 in this game. Another game where, again, Hayes is just in foul trouble like the entire night.
Dude, and then
they just had to play small.
And even the sequence at the end when he picked up his 5th foul on a screen in the backcourt, whatever. And then the goaltend. It was just like, this could go the other way. Like these could be big momentum shifters. Lakers ultimately found a way.
Okay, so how are you feeling going into game 3? Like, do you think there's any, after these first 2 games, you go, who has an edge?
I
still like Minnesota.
Really?
Yeah. Look, Naz Reid did not score his first basket in this game until the 10:41 mark of the fourth quarter.
And it was a 3.
It just felt like the foul trouble that Minnesota was in tonight just really messed up any type of flow, and that just threw them off their game. It's not to take anything away from the Lakers. I expect Minnesota to bounce back.
And that's fine. I definitely expect them to play some better basketball and bounce back. I just can't sit here today after these last 2 games and be like, so-and-so has the edge, especially when anytime you ever want to count out LeBron James and what he's capable of doing, it's not even just like, oh, LeBron's an old man and he's doing this. It's literally at times when he becomes unstoppable and when he just locks in, does what he needs to do. And I think doing what he needs to do is not just being like the ultimate scorer and being the guy that says, hey, everyone get on my back. But he makes big plays happen. He's always the threat when he's out there. And when he's locked in like this and he uses his strength, his body, and everything else, it's like he becomes unstoppable when he gets in the paint. And then he can find the open man.
Yeah.
7 assists tonight.
And then over the years, how many times we talked about, as Kings fans, the challenge of watching Luka, because you were like, Kings should have drafted him number 2, right?
Yeah.
I was telling Morgan tonight, I was like, I can't fathom how Mavs fans are feeling right now. I'm watching Luka in that first quarter and just getting to his spots. You're like, how did you trade that guy?
Well,
and I feel for Mavs fans because you can't even watch. You literally can't watch tonight unless you just said, I'm done with the
unless
Mavs.
you can
I'm
separate.
a Luka guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think about that. And I'm like, this has got to be so painful.
Well, and especially after a week of like Nico Harrison just having the press conferences that he has and being like, I didn't understand what Luka meant to the fan base.
Oh my God.
Like,
stop having press conferences.
Well, and we say that, but at the same time, we want these people to also speak.
But we've heard enough. We've heard enough. It was right
Double
after
down.
the trade wasn't great. Then he had that off the record shit that ended up like, it was like not recorded, but with reporters, but like everyone reported on it. Then he comes out and is like, all right, we're going to have one open. And so the, fans can hear from him at the end of the season. And you're just like, dude, this guy just puts his foot in his mouth all the time. I mean, he doesn't know how to make anybody feel better. And I guess ultimately he can't take back the trade anyway. But anyway, my whole point is.
And then that's what I was going to say. And then when you see a game like this within the same week, I'm with you on that.
And it's not, from Mavericks fans, it's like, this shit's not going away. He's 25 years old.
Like you said, being in Sacramento.
I mean, we face it a little bit with Halliburton, right? But I think here's the difference with Tyrese. Well, one, Tyrese is not as good as Luka. But at the time, Tyrese was like this young, like we were super excited about his potential. It was hope, right? Where Luka was like, this guy took us to the NBA Finals last year. We lost it.
Like a golden ticket.
All NBA every time. He's 25. Like, what the fuck? He wants to be here too, right? He didn't demand a trade. I didn't mean to go that route, but I couldn't help but think about it tonight. And anyway,
yeah,
it's crazy.
You'll think about it the more they win. So
those are our thoughts on Game 2, Wolves and Lakers. Let us know what you think about this series. What did you think about this game tonight? Who has the edge going forward? Let us know in the comments below. Hit the thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo, they tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, the podcast